Hey everyone, Aura Tomiak here, and today I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about pixel art. Today we're going to make a really small basic image just to kind of teach fundamentals, and hopefully we'll build out from there. I have GraphicsScale open here. I am a Windows user. If you are too, I highly recommend GraphicsScale. If you're on Mac, Pixin is probably the closest thing. I'll leave links to both of those in the description so you can find them. They're both free, so I wouldn't worry too much about price. And we'll just get started. Go ahead and download those, pause the video if you haven't yet. So today we're going to make a really basic, really small image. We're going to make something that weirdos like me have drawn a lot in their lifetime. We're going to make a sword. So I'm going to start with a 64 wide by 32 tall image. And we're just going to kind of draw a sword laying down on the ground. This is usually how I draw them for video games. I'm not really going to spend a lot of time talking about why I draw them this way. We're just going to kind of learn how to select colors and how they fit together and shade things and just really basic stuff. So first of all, I'm going to start with the hilt of the sword. And we're going to grab kind of a bluish color for the handle. And we're going to make that just a rectangle. And right now, the image isn't going to look like much. It's just going to be, we're just going to shape it out and kind of get the proportions correct. Otherwise, we'll spend a lot of time, shading things and then moving them around. And it's just a better idea, especially if you're new, to just kind of get the color and shape down first, and then you can kind of go in and add details later on. So I've picked this blue color for the handle, and then we have this kind of golden yellow for the handguard of the sword. And we're just gonna make kind of even a super geometric, like blocky handle. And do the same kind of thing down here for the bottom part. That looks alright. Let me just, I think this top part is actually taller than the bottom part. I actually like the way the bottom part was, so we're going to shave a few pixels off the side there just to make it look a little bit thinner. And as for the blade of the sword, a lot of people, you're going to want to make this like perfectly gray, because when you imagine metal, it is like 100% gray, but very few things in life are absolutely gray. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to pick kind of a brownish iron color. As you can see in the hue slider, this is reddish orange. It's really low on the saturation, but not completely down at the bottom. In between 20 and 40 is probably where you want to go. And what that's going to do is kind of draw out the color of it. It's still going to look gray, but it's going to look more dynamic than if we just made it like totally desaturated. And then we're going to draw a really basic, just straight line, diagonal line for the sword. And so what we have here is just the basic shape of the sword, which is a great building block. And at this point, we're ready to add shading to the sword. And what we're going to do first of all is we're going to select a color from the blade. If you have a dropper tool, go ahead and do that. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this color and we're going to shift it down a little bit towards red. And then we're also going to drop the brightness down. And then you're going to divide the sword right down the middle and fill the other side. And that's going to give you kind of that hard crease down the middle between where the light source is, which is up here, and then where the light source isn't, which would be your kind of ambient color down here. But with swords like this and with a lot of metal objects, oftentimes the crease in the middle where the two shades separate is going to be very bright. And you'll see what I mean when we're going to sample this middle tone color again, and then we're going to bring it way up on the brightness and then kind of jack it towards yellow a little bit. And then we're going to draw a line right down the center. What that's going to do is make the difference between the light and the dark more dramatic, and it's also going to give the impression that, you know, this is a really hard edge. The difference between this angle and this angle is really dramatic. And this is also going to help us later on. We're going to do a little bit more detail work on the blade. But for now, I think that is looking pretty good. So we're going to move away from the blade a little bit right now, and we're going to move on towards the hilt. And we'll start with the handle. We'll just work our way down towards this bottom bit, and we'll try to establish the three shades of, you know, middle tone, highlight, and shadow of this golden color. And for me, I kind of make the golden colors really dramatic down to the orange, because if you've ever looked at something that is golden, the reflection on it is very intense. So we're going to take this kind of orangish color and we're just going to kind of round out the hilt a little bit. And this will be most noticeable in the preview window. Adding these dark colors at the corners is going to make them look less blocky. If that makes any sense, it's called anti-aliasing when you do it here. And it kind of it tricks the eyes into thinking that, you know, this shape actually is circular rather than a block with, you know, darker edges. Once the image is completely finished, I think it'll make a lot more sense. But as for right now, we're just going to kind of shape out this hilt and make it a little bit more interesting. And we're also going to take this middle tone. We're going to put the brightness up a lot and then make it a little bit more yellow. And we're just going to add some highlights at the top here. Because remember, our highlight is coming from the top of the image, so everything on the bottom of the image is going to be darker. And just because there's this big flat surface that doesn't really have a lot of color in here, we're just going to add a little bit more detail to the center of the hilt there. And that looks a little bit weird if you're looking at it zoomed in like I am, but if you look at the preview at, you know, double the size of what the actual image is, it kind of blends together and gives this impression that it's more three-dimensional than it actually is. So I think that looks good for now, but we're going to move down to this handle. And what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm noticing that the saturation on the handle is a little bit bright. This blue is a little bit too vivid. So we're going to move that down on the saturation scale and then fill that back in. Just because that's really drawing your eye towards the handle of the sword, which really isn't the interesting part. You know, the hilt and the blade are kind of the most interesting focal point of the image. So again, we're going to sample this color, and we're going to move it down a little bit on the brightness scale. And then we're going to move it a little bit towards blue or purple. And then we're just going to draw in a little bit of shadow here. And I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on this. We'll make it a little bit darker so it stands out a little bit more. But this is a really, you know, basic handle. It's not really supposed to stand out or be interesting, so we're not going to focus on it too much. And then we're going to come down to the base of the sword, and we're going to do essentially the same thing that we did on the top. Is we're just going to kind of round out these edges, add a little bit of detail, and then add the bright parts in. And you kind of just want to make kind of a unique pattern around here, just to kind of make it look unique and separated. It's kind of hard to describe how this would look at a normal resolution. I guess there would be kind of a divot in the center here, and then this area would pop out and kind of be highlighted. But really, just if you refer back to your preview and just kind of look at it and eye it up, and then notice which parts don't look good or which parts look weird, I think you're gonna notice a lot of weird defects, and you're gonna be able to fix them. So let's move back up to the blade, and we're gonna add a little bit of flare here, just because this sword looks okay right now. But we're gonna add a little bit of flavor to it in the form of cracks going up the side of it. I'm just gonna add 2 cracks right in the middle, and the thing that you have to remember about these cracks is because these are creased, these are another crease in the sword, and because this is metal and it's supposed to be shiny, for these cracks we also need alternating, crease to that crack. So if these cracks are facing down in this direction, we need a highlight that is facing in the opposite direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this middle tone, because that is, a few steps lighter than this cracked color. And we're just going to go along the outer edge and add these in. And what that's going to kind of do is give this illusion that, there's a 3-dimensional kind of aspect to those cracks, that they're really deep in the blade, so much so that they're kind of casting a shadow on the inside of the blade, which is looking pretty good. I think we're going to blow this up to about 300%. And you can see kind of the 3-dimensional aspect that, that highlight line down the center gives, that the kind of like not yet symmetrical shading of the hilt gives you, and how those cracks really come to life when you add that extra layer of shading into them. So that's it. That's how you make a pixel art sword, a very basic, small pixel art sword. I hope you learned something, and I hope that you'll watch more of my videos. I'll see you next time.